Hey there, car shoppers. My name is Kyle, your friendly neighborhood salesman, back today with AutoDice.com in order to bring clarity to the car purchasing process for the consumer. Continuing our series today, we're going to do things a little bit differently since we're talking about the test drive. We don't really need to talk about what a test drive is for, we'll just talk about what types of things you can do on the test drive to get the most out of that. Let's take a look. So the first thing that I'm going to say about test drives is always do a test drive. I know it sounds obvious, but when I was a sales associate, I do remember very often people coming in and saying, I've owned this car before, or I've done lots of research, I don't really need to test drive it. And I would always insist that they do. The reason for this is because there's nothing like hands-on experience with a vehicle in order to make sure that it's the right car for you. But also is that sometimes vehicles, even if there's not a full generation change, they can be tweaked from year to year. So this can be things like engine performance or the infotainment system. So by getting into the vehicle and checking it out, you can make sure that there's no small changes to the vehicle or things that you weren't aware of that would maybe change your mind on whether or not it was the right car for you. So take the little bit of time to do it. The second thing that we'll go over is always take your sales associate. Nowadays, with the car industry, a lot of dealerships are giving the option for clients to take the vehicle out on their own to just experience it without having anybody else in the car with them. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a bad idea, but I just think that having the sales associate there can provide you with information that may be important to have as you're driving the vehicle. So, as an example, if there's some feature that you'd like to try out and you're not exactly sure how to access it, because again, it's not necessarily your car just yet, by having the sales associate, they can guide you through that or show you exactly how to use that feature very quickly. Also, too, when it comes to automated features nowadays on driving, you may feel something when you're driving the vehicle, a small tug on the steering wheel, or maybe the brakes get applied during a stop. And the sales associate can be there to answer your question, say, oh, well, that's this particular feature engaging in order to make sure that the vehicle's safe or that your drive is more comfortable. So having the sales associate just means that all those little questions that come up while you're driving the vehicle can be answered right away, rather than having to try and remember all of them so that you can ask all those questions when you get back to the dealership. The last thing we'll talk about is just types of things that you can do on a test drive in order to make sure that you've really experienced the vehicle to its maximum potential. So normally people, when they're doing a test drive, it's going to be just a down the road for a few minutes, do some stop and start, and then come back to the dealership. But the reality is driving on a day-to-day basis involves far more types of maneuvers than just those two things. So try parking the car. Go into a parking lot and just see what it feels like to park the vehicle in between two other cars. Is there a column, for example, in where you glance over your shoulder? Is it too large or too small than what you imagined it would be? You can also do things like check the turning radius of the vehicle. It sounds like a small thing, but it's important sometimes to know exactly what kind of turning radius your vehicle has. So park it in a parking lot, turn the steering wheel all the way to one side, and just see what it's like. By doing all of these other types of maneuvers that are not just driving the vehicle in a straight line and stopping and starting, you can really get a feel for what this vehicle is going to be like when you're using it on a day-to-day basis, so that you know it's the right car for exactly what type of driving you like to do. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope that you like finding out a little bit more about stuff you can do on test drives. Of course, go ahead and leave a comment below if you have something to say. If you have an idea for a future topic you'd like me to cover, go ahead and leave a comment about that. Of course, if you wouldn't mind, a nice like and subscribe would be appreciated. And as always, keep on shopping.